PFL Europe 2 this Saturday from Newcastle, England. We have got the women's flyweights and the bantamweights going at it this weekend in the PFL Europe season tournament. It is different than the normal PFL season. In turn, basically, the PFL Europe way of things is just a straight-up 8-man bracket to decide who the PFL Europe champion will be. Now, again, there's no clear way of moving up the ranks in the PFL. Like, again, the main example I will show you from today's card is that Kakhorov is fighting, he's got a fight in the bantamweight division. He is on the prelims as of now, and he was the world champion last year, at least in the PFL Europe side of things. He is not getting the call, obviously, to fight in the actual PFL season. Now, I know they don't have a 135-pound weight class, but they have 145, so, I mean, he could go over there. But it is what it is. He's not doing that. Instead, he's back here in PFL Europe. Now, the difference is there's a guy like Jakob Neto who won the PFL Europe last year at the light heavyweight division, and now he is in the actual season for the PFL, and he will be fighting one Impa Kasanganai in his next fight in a PFL champion versus PFL Europe champion in about a week or about a month's time. Okay, over a month, but still, June 21st, that fight's happening. So, again, I don't completely understand how it works because you think maybe they gave Kakhorov the chance to go up and fight at 45 to fight in the actual PFL season. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But he's fighting on the prelims. He'll be on about the 5th fight of the night. So let's get into it. PFL Europe predictions, folks, here on the channel. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel every single week. And also, yesterday we posted our Jared Cannonier and Nasruddin Imavov full card fight predictions from Louisville, Kentucky. If you watched that video yesterday, I was, my throat was pretty messed up and I could barely talk. I am getting better, so yeah, I'll have a little bit of trouble talking, but I think that's kind of healed at least a little bit. Let's get on to this 15-fight card. We will get through some of these prelim fights pretty quickly. First one being, and again, I don't know the exact order, but we've got Mark Ewen taking on Claudio Pacella in this fight for the Scottish fighter in Ewen. He is 5-0 coming to this fight. He is a big lightweight. Again, just a featured bout here. Ewen is 6 feet tall at 155 pounds. He has fought in Bellator before, his last win being in Bellator by second round knockout. He's fought in Aries FC as well. And again, Ewen's a pretty sizable favorite to win this fight. He's taking on a guy who is 3-2 in Claudio Pacella, who lost his last fight in PFL Europe earlier this year. He lost to Patrick Harabora, obviously one of the, I guess somewhat of a highly touted guy that the PFL does have from Belgium. He lost the fight, did Pacella by unanimous decision. He is back. Again, it feels like the kind of fight that they're trying to get Mark Ewen a victory for. Just 3 fights ago, Pacella lost by second round TKO. He's lost 2 of 3 going into this fight. This fight makes sense. You got a guy who's 1-0 in Bellator taking a guy who's 0-1 in the PFL, giving Mark Ewen to win the fight by first round knockout. To our next one here. This one is a fight in the season. Originally supposed to be Franz Malabo taking on Luke Shanks. Instead, it is Dominique Wooding instead, and we're actually going to go with the replacement fighter here. We're going to go with Dominique Wooding. Now, Franz Malabo was the runner-up last year. He lost to Kakhorov in the championship fight. I believe it was in the 2nd or 3rd round by TKO. But Dominique Wooding now gets a shot. And again, this is the guy who's lost to Franz Malabo in the past. He lost Malabo back in 2019 in Bellator. He's fought some decent guys. He fought Fabakri Diatta back in Bellator in 2020 as well. He did go on a 3-fight winning streak over in Cage Warriors, winning all 3 by knockout, 2 of them being by head kick and the other one being with an overhand right, followed up by a flying knee. He has lost back-to-back fights to decent fighters, though. The last one being in PFL Europe last year in the championship card, losing by unanimous decision over there again in December. He's taken on Luke Shanks in this fight, and again, I feel like it's a very winnable fight for Dominique Wooding, and I understand Wooding's 9-6, and the guys Luke Shanks has lost to aren't bad. Like, Luke Shanks has not lost to a bad fighter yet. He lost to Callum Lofran by second round TKO. I lost to Sam Creasy. He did get that win back in 2021, but he did lose. He fought him twice in the span of 2 months. He lost the first fight to Creasy and then won the second fight. And he also lost to Jake Hadley as well back in 2020. Jake Hadley, of course, a guy who I think is still in the UFC. I don't know if he's getting cut after his last performance against Charles Johnson in St. Louis, but I don't know. Again, Shanks has fought decent guys. You just look at this fight, though, matchup-wise, and I really like Dominique Wooding. It's all dependent on if Wooding keep the fight on the feet, and I think, honestly, he will be able to. Again, that's where Wooding has the big advantage in this fight, is with the striking game. And for Shanks, again, he's got to take this fight down. I am going to take the fighter who, yes, is 9-6, but I'm still going to take Dominique Wooding to go out here and win the fight. Give me Wooding to advance to the second round with the second round at TKO knockout. To our next TKO finish knockout. My goodness, that was bad. To our next one here, it is now in the women's flyweight division. This is a fight of all time. It is one of the fights of all time. D beat Begley, taking on Polyana Wisniewska. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Guys, I'm not taking a fighter who's 4-5. I can't do it. Now, Begley's last win is Hannah Guy. Hannah Guy is a fighter who at one point beat Valerie Loreda in Bellator, now a WWE name in NXT, but still, she beat Valerie Loreda, giving her her first L in Bellator back in 2021. It's a fighter who got on the Ultimate Fighter and lost to Brogan Walker in the first round. Caitlin Neal then beat her in Invicta right after, and then Dee Begley does go out there and beat Hannah Guy right after that. So again, how good is Hannah Guy? Not great, because Begley after that has lost 3 fights in a row. She's lost 4 out of 5 going into this fight. There's a loss to Lizzie Gevers on this on that record. Gevers we're going to talk about shortly on this card. She's going to be fighting Sammy Jo Luxton. I don't know. Begley just doesn't look good on paper. She's 4-5. It leaves a lot to be desired. She's been finished on the feet. She's been finished on the ground. Taking on Polyana Wisniewska. I don't know much about either of these fighters. I'll be honest with you. She's 2-0. I'm just not taking a fighter who's 4-5. Okay? It's that simple. We're taking Wisniewska by decision, but the women's flyweight division in the PFL Europe is absolutely horrible. There's a reason Dakota Nichiva swept the table here, and that's why she's fighting the actual PFL season. So it is what it is. Give me the Polish fighter to win, though, by decision. To our next one here, Alexander Luster taking on Alfred Karabulut. We're taking Luster to win the fight by second round TKO. We're going to go with the German here. He's 7-1 coming into this fight. He is currently scheduled for 2 fights, which is kind of weird. He's scheduled for a fight all the way in December. For the GMC Bantamweight Championship, the German MMA Championship. I don't know why that's a thing. I doubt he will actually fight that fight, but he's taking on a Turkish name here in Alfred. He's 10-3, somewhat short for the weight class. He's 5'5". He's 5'5". Luster's 5'8". You look at what Karabulut has been able to do. He's coming off a win over a 5-7 guy in Turkey Elite MMA. Again, just the record isn't great. Just because look at the guys he's beat. He hasn't beaten anybody with a winning record. That's not good. And the guys who have had winning records that he's fought, he's lost to. He lost to a guy, he was 8-1 going into a fight in 2023 against a 1-0 fighter, and he lost by rear naked choke in the second round. It really makes you question sometimes the level of guys that the PFL Europe is bringing in, because sometimes it's bad. And this is one of the scenarios where it's bad. I'm not saying Alexander Luster's the greatest, but at least he's beat some guys. His only loss is a loss to Max Holzer back in 2021 by split decision. The guy's 8-0 now fighting an octagon, the guy they lost to. Very credible name, right? It makes you wonder, why aren't they getting guys like that? I don't know. I think Luster wins. He'll get it by second round TKO, but I'm not impressed. Like, seriously, some of these names you're going to see, I'm just not impressed that the level of guys the PFL Europe is bringing in. It's not great. It really isn't. Next one, Ben Woolliss taking on Maher. You've got a 3-0 guy taking on a 1-1 guy. This is a feature bout. This is not in any season or whatnot. Again, Bellator/PFL have done this a lot. I am very concerned with Ben Woolliss, though. He is a pretty sizable favorite to win this fight, as he should be. He has not beaten a fighter who has a win yet on his record. Maher is 1-1. He'll be the first guy that he beats if he can beat him that has a win on his record. He's 1-1. He's got a loss to an 0-1 guy. Then he beat a 1-7 fighter last year, a guy who is now, of course, 1-8. This isn't good. It's low-level MMA, but the thing is, they want Ben Woolliss to win, so he will. He'll win the fight by first-round knockout. He is, a guy they're looking to push. He's already won twice in 2024. He just fought a month ago against a guy who's 0-5 in James Darks, a guy that you click on his Tapology profile. There's a big yellow box at the top that says, this fighter has been found by Tapology to have engaged in activity that does not conform to combat sports standards. That means, again, he may have thrown fights. The record might not be accurate. It's not a good look all around. Ben Woolliss will win, but I want, again, if this guy's going to stick around in the PFL, give him an actual fight, and don't give him guys who's 1-1. But we got to make a pick, and we're taking Woolliss by first round knockout. To our next one, we go back to the women's flyweight division and to the tournament. You have got the runner-up last year in Valentina Scatizzi taking on Marie Loiseau. Loiseau is 43 years old. She's 43. She's lost 4 fights. They've all been by TKO. Now, I think she goes the distance here with Valentina Scatizzi because I don't know if Valentina Scatizzi can legitimately finish a fight. Yes, she did it in her first ever fight back in 2022, but God, she's not very good. She got to the finals last year because she won 1 fight. She beat Lizzie Gevers by split decision. Again, Gevers, we will be talking about her later. The Dutch fighter will have, again, a fight later on in this card. She was supposed to take on a couple fighters. Greet Acute. She was supposed to take on after beating Gevers. Fight got canceled. Then she was supposed to, God, can't talk. Supposed to take on Manuela Marcinetto. Fight got canceled, so they had just had her move her forward to the championship fight, where Dakota Dachiva finished her in 5 minutes. Swollen eye, doctor stoppage. Again, no one expected Scatizzi to beat Shevchenko. Not Shevchenko, my goodness. Dachiva, what am I talking about? But it's just weird, because Scatizzi's 2-2. Lost to Dachiva and lost to Samantha Jean-Francois, who at that point in time was 4-7. You might know Samantha Jean-Francois. You might have heard the name because she fought Reina Kubota in Ryzen. I remember at one point in time, Reina was a pretty big deal in Ryzen. I don't think she is that much. The hype for me kind of went away when she lost to Lindsay Van Zant in Bellator. I know she won that fight back. Again, I know very limited things about Ryzen. I know who Reina Kubota is. She's 2-2 in her last 4, right? But like, again, the hype kind of went away from me with Reina when she lost to Van Zant in Bellator. Again, she had the 2 shots against Ascura. But anyways, I don't know. That's where you might know the name Samantha Jean-Francois from, is when she fought Kubota. Yeah, but Scatizzi lost to her. And at the time, Samantha Jean-Francois was 4-6. I believe she's 9-7, I think. But still, or is 9-7? 8-7. It's a mess. Scatizzi will win, though, just because, again, Loiseau hasn't really beat anybody. She fought Daria Zelznikova, who is a UFC name, who just beat Montserrat Rendon. She fought her in Aries on the undercard. Loiseau's also fought Nora Canol and Teresa Bleda, 2 UFC names. She's lost all those fights. She's 43. That's the problem. Give me Scatizzi, even though she's 2-2. I don't know. To our next one here. Here's the bantamweight champion last year, Khurshid Kakhorov. Now, I just found out he's not fighting. He's not fighting the guy on the screen right here. He's not taking on. Well, he was supposed to fight Bondo, but he's not even fighting Kadze as well. He's had 3 different opponents for this card. If I believe right, he's fighting a Finnish guy, and I'll get his name in a second. But Kakhorov's going to win this fight. If he's able to melt Franz Malabo the way he did, he's going to be able to win this fight. Now, I'll get the name for you in just a minute. He is going to be taking on Tomas the Tank Engine Gronvall from Finland. He's from Helsinki, Finland. Yeah, like, it's not the guy's 11-6, if my memory serves me right. I did a little bit of research about him. I will bring I need to get his Tapology page up right now because, again, the fight's not on Tapology. But yeah, Tomas the Tank Engine, he's being thrown to the Wolves here. He's 12-6-1. He's coming off a win in Cage 62, which is a Finnish promotion where he just won that fight by arm triangle choke in the first round. They don't even have the time of the fight. It's called Cage on the Beach. Well, I took a class about Finnish history and just about Finland in general. Don't ask how I got stuck with that class. I'm going to include in Estonia and Hungary of all places as well. But I don't think there's beaches in Finland. I don't think there is. It's cold as hell out there. Anyways, Gronvall did fight Wilson Hayes, a former UFC title challenger back in 2022, lost by unanimous decision over in Cage Warriors. I don't think this guy's the worst, but the problem is they gave him the best guy in the PFL Europe bantamweight division. Khurshid Kakhorov, again, he is the reigning champion, and he's the best guy they got. This is a guy who fought Brett Johnson in Bellator. This guy who won a fight against Jair Jr. in Bellator as well. He's a very solid guy. He beat Ali Taleb, too. He was an underdog against Taleb. You know, you just saw Taleb fight in PFL Meta, where he won. I think Kakhorov is pretty solid. I truly think he is. Again, I think Franz Malabo is pretty good, too, and he was able to knock out Franz Malabo. So, Kakhorov will win the fight. Again, he's not fighting the guy on the screen. He's fighting a Finnish guy named Tomas Gronvall instead. Do I think he finishes Gronvall? Honestly, I don't think so. Gronvall has had, This is going to be his 20th walk. He's lost 6 times. They've all been by decision. I think Kakhorov does it like the previous 6 have done. I'm going to take Kakhorov to win the fight by unanimous decision. I think it will be a solid scrap, but again, we're not taking the guy coming into fighting the champion on short notice. We're just not going to do that. So Kakhorov, again, by decision, not the pick on the screen right there. We're going to go Kakhorov by decision instead. Okay. To our next one here, we've mentioned Lizzie Gevers before just because she has fought a lot of these fighters that have been on this card. But here she is. She's taking on a fighter that's on the poster in Sammy Joe Luxton. PFL wants Sammy Joe Luxton to win the fight. It's just that simple. They want her to win the fight. Now, she has not beat a fighter that has a win on her record. Great. Taking on Lizzie No Flow Gevers. Gevers fought once in the PFL last year, lost to Scatizzi. It shows you where she's at. She's won some other fights, but it doesn't matter. I mean, she beat Begley, who's also on this card too. She beat her by unanimous decision. But God, it's just so low level. Sammy Joe Luxton should be able to win the fight. She's just better. She's a better striker. She has power for 125 pounds. She's a bigger 125-pound fighter. Gevers is as well, in all fairness. They're both 5'7". But Sammy Joe Luxton should have more power on the feet. She just should. She should have more power. She should be able to strike better. And all around, that's where this fight's going to be won and lost for both these fighters. But Sammy Joe Luxton, again, is the better striker. She's a English fighter. Her nickname is the Ghetto Cinderella, so there's that. But again, you can tell who the PFL wants to win the fight by looking at the poster. And we'll go to it real quick. There it is. That's Sammy Joe Luxton in the poster. They want her to win the fight. Again, remember the guys in the poster. I'll move my face for a second. Remember Lewis McGrillen as well. These are the guys they want to win. And Kane Mousah is here because he's a name. I will just leave that with you for now. Sammy Joe Luxton's going to win the fight by decision. To our next one here. Ibragimov taking on Josh Reed. We're going with Ibragimov to win the fight. Ibragimov 6-0, taking on a 13-8 fighter from Wales in Josh Reed. Again, we're taking the 6-0 guy. Duh. Right? I mean, again, the record's not the most impressive. The strength of schedule is not the greatest. He hasn't really fought in any real promotion, unlike Josh Reed, who has fought in Cage Warriors. So I do think it's a legitimate test. Josh Reed has fought Luke Shanks before. He lost by first-round submission. I think it's a legitimate test. I do think it is. He's fought Nathaniel Wood back in 2017. He's fought guys, right? But I just think it's also Ibragimov hasn't been able to get a type of guy like Josh Reed to prove himself yet on this level of competition, on this stage too. Ibragimov's 20 years old. He's 6-0. There's potential with this guy. And oh, by the way, he was born in Dagestan. That's really all you need to know. Again, this is not a fight in the season at all. It's just a featured bout. But if the guy's from Dagestan, he's 6-0. Mahashev Poirier kind of taught us something, and it's don't bet against the Dagestani guy. Ibragimov wins. He'll do it pretty quickly and decisively. First round submission. Josh Reed's been around. He's lost 8 times. Ibragimov wins in this featured bout. Okay, to our next one here. Again, I showed you the poster. Chanel Dyer versus Mariam Torchinava. We're taking Chanel Dyer. Duh. Again, it's just the PFL knows what they're doing. They will give the fighters they want to win favorable matchups. So it's up to the fighters to get it done. We've seen Dyer before. She won on PFL Europe last year. She won against Luisa Fernanda Cifuentes. She was a minus 800 favorite. She won it by decision, right? She's taking on Mariam Torchinava here, who is 9-2, who hasn't really fought anybody. She's been fighting in the GFC promotion against nobodies with low, total fights in Georgia. No, not the state, the country. She's lost 1 fight back in 2022, another one back in her debut back in 2021. She just hasn't fought anybody. I mean, on paper, again, what I've seen out of Torchinava is the ground game, and it's going to be a clash of styles. Dyer is primarily a striker. That's kind of what she does. Torchinava, again, wants to get the fight down the ground. But Dyer has done some grappling bouts before, and she's won, on Tapology. She's gone to Polaris and done a grappling match where she won it by omoplata in the first round. I believe it's a 10-minute round. She won it 7 minutes into the round. So it's not like she's, incapable of grappling. Again, everything points to a Chanel Dyer victory. Again, I will, keep emphasizing this. There's Chanel Dyer on the bottom right of the screen. She'll probably win the fight, guys. Chanel Dyer will get it done. She'll do it by decision. To our next one here. Dean Garrett taking on an Eitan de Paepe in this fight. We're going to be going with Dean Garrett to win this fight. Again, it's back in the bantamweight, playoffs or really just bracket. This is a good fight. This is one of the better ones that they put on here. Yes, Aiden is 1-3 in Cage Warriors. but look at the guys he's fought. Okay, the one that's weird is Corey Tate. Corey Tate's the guy that that Aiden De Paepe did lose to. He just lost to Franz Malabo in Bellator a couple years ago. That's the weird one. But other than that, the guys Aiden has fought that lost to in Cage Warriors are Jack Shore, Lee Roden Murphy, who just beat Edson Barbosa in a main event in the UFC, and Josh Reed, who's on this card. He has won 2 straight since losing to Corey Tate in his last one, both though in random promotions. One is GMC over in Germany, and the other one is in Stare Down, which is another promotion, different promotion in Belgium, where he beat a guy at the time who was 19-40, from Aruba, Hiram Rodriguez. It's, though, again, all that being said, this is a good fight, because Aiden has been around. He's beat some guys. Dean Garrett has been around. He has beat some guys as well. He fought in Bellator a long time ago. He lost, or it was a majority draw back in 2016. Bellator 158. You got to go back to that one in London, main evented by Douglas Lima and Paul Daly. Matt Mitrione was the co-main event. But Dean Garrett has been beating some solid guys. His last win in Brave was very good against a 14-3 fighter. Again, he wins the fight, goes out there and does it by decision. He wins the fight before that by knockout against a 11-1 fighter, Lucas Korbaj. I think Dean Garrett's really solid. He beat Dominic Wooding as well back in ACB back in 2018. It's been the inactivity, which is kind of weird. He had a 5-year layoff, but he came back in 2023. He won 3 in a row in 2023. He's now fighting for the first time in the year of 2024. He has a fight against Magomed Magomedov. Again, a guy who maybe should have won the fight against Patchy Mix over in Paris, but it is what it is, right? Like, Dean Garrett's fought some good guys. And I think this is, again, in terms of closeness and competitiveness, this is one of the best fights that they have put on this entire card. This is a very close fight that could go either way, but I'm going to go with Dean Garrett to win the fight by decision. I just like the experience and I like what I've seen out of him more than what we have gotten out of Aiden De Paepe. Give me Dean Garrett to win the fight by unanimous decision. To our next one here. I didn't know if this fight was actually happening, so I just threw it in here right now. It seems like it is. Louis McGrillen-Evans taking on Matthias Zaharovs. Louis McGrillen-Evans, again, I will go back to this poster again one more time. He's one of the guys that's on the face of the poster. There he is. Oh, wrong way. There he is. Right? I mean, again, Louis McGrillen-Evans should win the fight. He should get it done. He should do it pretty quickly. I'm going to take him by first round knockout. He's taking on an SBG Ireland guy, Matthias Zaharovs. He's won 2 in a row. Before that, he dropped 2 in a row. McGrillen-Evans is 8-1. He was expected to do very well in the PFL Europe season last year, or at least he was supposed to have a good 2023 with them. And he loses a fight to an 8-5 Wesley Maya at the last card. It's not good. He shouldn't have lost that fight. Won 2 fights back-to-back. Before that in PFL Europe by first-round knockout. And again, maybe it's the strength of schedule. Because yes, Louis McGrillen-Evans hasn't fought the best guys. But the guy says, 8 wins, 8 knockouts. He's got all the potential. He's just got to put it together. And they got to keep giving him, guys like this. Because again, we've seen it already right now. McGrillen-Evans isn't ready to fight, I guess, an 8-5 guy like Maya, like he lost to, right? He's only 23. He's still evolving as a mixed martial arts fighter. So again, give him a fight to get his confidence back. This seems like that fight. He should be able to go out here and win the fight by first round knockout. Again, he's taking on a guy who just fought Anthony Pettis FC in 2023. When Anthony Pettis went to Manchester and had a card over there. He's taking on a credible guy. But I will think that Louis McGrillen-Evans is able to go out there and get the knockout in the first round. So that's what we're going to go with. Louis McGrillen-Evans to get back on the winning track by winning it by first round knockout. To our next one here, the featured bout, Jack Grant taking on Charlie Leary. Now, Jack Grant just had a very good performance where he almost beat the Lazy King. He lost by split decision. That's close. That fight is very close. Should he have got the nod? Maybe. Jack Grant's fought some good guys. He's fought Jai Herbert. He's fought Ian Machado Gary. He's fought some decent guys. Excuse me. Same with Charlie Leary. Leary's been around. He's been a Bellator guy for a while. The names, you might heard of some of these guys. Yancy Medeiros' last fight, Soren Bach, Davy Gallon, Kiefer Crosby, Tim Wilde. He's fought some very credible guys and some guys that you will know who've just been around. Abdul Karim Al-Sawadi, a guy who's in the UFC, who just lost to Luik Radzhabov. Atmanai Zaitar, he lost to in over in Brave. He beat Daniel Scatizzi back in Brave in 2017, right? Leary's fought a lot of guys. The problem is he's 41. And he's not getting any younger, taking a guy 9 years younger than him. And Jack Grant really impressed me in his last fight. He really did. He held his own against the Lazy King, and the Lazy King's good. Jack Grant's going to give Leary a lot of problems on the ground here. He just is. He's going to be able to take Leary down. He's going to really pressure him down there, and it's just going to be all around very tough for Leary to win the fight. Jack Grant is pretty big for the weight class too. He's 6'1". Leary's 6 feet tall, so that's not really saying much. But again, Leary's 17-13. He's lost 13 fights. Jack Grant is 19-8, so neither of these records are, pretty on paper, but still, I'm taking Jack Grant to go out here and win the fight. I think he is the better fighter all around. And I do think Jack Grant gets it done by submission in the first. Again, I do think he immediately gets this fight down to the ground, and it's just a discrepancy on the ground that Jack Grant is just better down there. So give me Jack Grant to win the fight. We're going to take him by first round sub as we go on to the co-main event here. Mousah taking on Dylan Tuke. It is not a fight in the season. It is just, again, a fight in the lightweight division. Dylan Tuke, a guy who fought last year in PFL Europe. He went 2-1, wins over Connor Hughes and Yazid Kushan. Lost to Jakub Kazuba by unanimous decision. He's now getting Mousah. Kazuba's a very solid guy who, again, beat John Mitchell to win the PFL Europe Championship. He just beat Mousah last time out in the PFL Europe run of things. PFL Europe won earlier this year. Mousah's back, taking on the guy who just lost as well to Kazuba, Dylan Tuke. Both these guys have lost to Kazuba. Now they're fighting. I do think Tuke wins the fight. I think he does. I think Mousah's a little over the hill. Guys, he's 38, right? Like, he's had a lot of fights. He's fought a lot of solid guys. His last 4 fights, Kazuba, Goti, Karahanyan, and Gailon, all solid guys. The only win he has is against a very old and a guy who's been through a lot of fights in Gorgi Karahanyan, right? And again, everything kind of points to a Dylan Tuke victory here because that's kind of what we do expect. I think Dylan Tuke wins the fight by decision. Again, Mousah isn't looking any younger. He's been through a lot of wars, and at some point, again, it's going to catch up to you. He's been fighting high-level guys for a very long time. He fought back in Bama for the lightweight championship. I believe he went up a weight class to go on and fight Mark DeCasey, and he lost by knockout in 36 seconds back there. I believe, right? Was he going for 2 belts? Maybe not. I don't know. I thought he was. But still, Mousah's been around. Dylan Tuke, again, he's a very 50-50 fighter, let's be honest. He loses in 2016 to a former UFC name in Cameron Else. At one point in time, Cameron Else was 3-3, made his way to the UFC. He went 0-2. He's now back in Cage Warriors. He just won a couple months ago. He wins a fight in Bama. He loses to Super Sodiq Yusuff. He wins a fight in Battle Arena. He loses in Budo Fighting Championship. He beats Connor Hughes on the first PFL Europe card. It's a tremendous victory, right? Huge underdog goes in there and beats the undefeated Connor Hughes, who's back and winning fights again in the PFL Europe season. He just fought in the last card. Lose to Jakub Kazuba, then beats Kuchain, and here we are, him fighting Mousah. I am under the impression that Tuke is going to be able to win this fight. Again, I know he's 7-4, but Mousah feels like he's coming to the end of his run, and I just don't think he's the same guy. It does disprove this theory, where again, he's on the poster. However, Mousah is just one of the biggest names they have, so they have to put him on the poster. But I just think matchup-wise, they did him no favors. So give me Dylan Tuke, the Irish fighter, to win the fight by unanimous decision. Now we go to the main event. I am not a boxing fan. And sure, maybe this will get boxing fans to watch this card, especially over in the UK. But guys, I have no clue who Savannah Marshall is. Like, going into this, I had no clue who she was. Until I saw about a couple months ago that she was main eventing this card, I was like, who the hell is this? I've seen that she's lost to Clarissa Shields. She lost by unanimous decision. One would think that they are setting that fight up. If Savannah Marshall wins, they're probably going to fight in mixed martial arts. Probably in the next PFL Europe card. They'll probably main event, in all fairness, because Clarissa Shields just won her last PFL fight over in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where she beat Kelsey DeSantis barely by split decision, where she missed weight, but still, or, just was too big going into the fight. Savannah Marshall's never fought in an MMA fight before. And she's fighting a fighter who is just horrible. Morella Vargas is not good. She's just not. She's 1-2. But, okay, she's only fought 2 fighters. Diane Silva is the only fighter she's lost to. She lost back-to-back fights to her, and they kind of ended the same way in Iron Man MMA. The first one, fight gets on the ground, she loses by rear naked choke. The second one, fights get on the ground, and she loses by TKO with ground and pound. She wins her first fight by TKO back in 2021, but again, it took her 2 years to get back in the cage, and she lost. She's a Brazilian fighter, who's 26 years old. She's being thrown in there to get slaughtered. I don't know much about female boxing, okay? I just don't. I knew who Clarissa Shields was before she got MMA, just kinda, because I've heard the name before. Other than that, I don't know anything about women's boxing, right? I just don't. I know that Jake Paul has got, I don't even know her name, I'll be honest with you. God, if I could think about it. Amanda Soriano, I think her name is. She's fighting some Irish woman, I do believe, in a rematch. They fought before. That's the only other women's boxing thing I just know about, just because Jake Paul promotes it a lot, and, you know, it's there on the press conference. You know, when Jake was supposed to fight Mike Tyson, they were on the stage with them. I don't even know the name of the Irish woman, I'll be honest with you. I think her name's Amanda Soriano. I don't know. Kate Taylor, her name is. Kate Taylor. Kate Taylor, I know, beat Amanda Soriano in the first fight. I don't know anything else about women's boxing. I don't know anything about Savannah Marshall. I know she's huge, at least for the weight class, I believe. They're fighting at 160. She's 5'11". She's huge. Morella Vargas is 5'9", though, and she's been fighting at 155. So again, it's up 5 pounds. Nothing out the ordinary. Savannah Marshall, when she fought Clarissa Shields, it was at 160. Her last fight was 168 for the super middleweight title in the female division. Again, I don't see the appeal. Maybe there is appeal over in England for this. Maybe people in Newcastle will show up for this. Savannah Marshall is from Hartlepool. I don't know Hartlepool. I don't know my, English geography. I don't know if that's close to Newcastle or not. Or my British geography, whatever. But yeah, I would be stupid not to pick Marshall in this spot. I know Clarissa Shields had a very tough out in her second mixed martial arts fight, but her first one she won. It's a pretty bad fighter. I don't even remember what her name was. But you got to think the PFL has handpicked Vargas to lose. So that's what's going to happen. I'm taking Savannah Marshall to win the fight by first round TKO. It's just really weird to me this is the main event. But it is what it is. Savannah Marshall wins by first round TKO. So folks, thank you all for watching our PFL Europe 2 predictions here on the channel. Again, if you haven't yet, go check out our UFC Louisville, Kentucky Fight Night predictions in the links in the description down below. And we'll be back again for the PFL American season coming back at you next month. Bellator is coming back, of course, as well, in UFC every single week for the month of June as well. So folks, thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. And make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank you all for watching. And Mamba, forever.